Kay defends themselves from Jack the Ripper. You're a boy pussy prostitute and drag in Whitechapel in 1888, on your way to service the local glory hole. Suddenly, you'll round the corner and see this crazed Jewish barber muttering in Yiddish coming right at you with a knife. He thinks that you're a woman and have the organs that he wishes that he had. He wants to make a suit from them. Unlike his previous victims, however, you just stop by the local gun store today and have any pre-1888 firearm or other weapon and copious amounts of ammunition on your person. Should I use the square rounds? Colt SAA, obviously. Silly Americans, this is Britannia. We do not conquer the West with loading gates here. We sustain empires with top brakes and silly huge rounds. I pull my howdah from under my skirt. Thumper, 600 caliber. I'd prefer a rapier of some type against a knife attacker instead of a gun. A gun doesn't physically prevent someone with a knife from entering your space and fucking you up. Even if you shoot them a few times, they can still kill you, whereas a rapier or sword puts a large, dangerous physical barrier between you and the attacker. Always keep your back to the wall and be on the lookout just in case. Pop culture loves to portray him as some kind of a raving, mindless lunatic who jumps out and repeatedly stabs people like some crazy, cheap horror movie villain. But from what I've read on him, he was more methodical than that. It seems he cowardly attacked his victims from behind so they'd struggle less, and probably to avoid getting more blood spilled on him, with the mutilations being done post-mortem. So taking the main advantage of him getting a drop on you would be a very important first step. Well, that's not difficult. There's a good chance he's my cousin. Seriously, ignoring the scarf DNA stuff, which is spurious as hell. There were 7 main suspects, and the number one amongst them was quite possibly my great-great however many times cousin, Montague John Druitt. My father's middle name, Druitt, was from that side of the family. This may have caused some concern for an ex of mine who, just when we were starting to go out, had asked around various mutual friends to make sure I was okay, and not the Jack the Ripper's cousin or something. When she told me about this, after the fact all the mutual friends had told her I was a decent person, she couldn't understand when I ended up creased up with laughing so hard that I could barely breathe. I'm thinking that ex-friend needs to donate a kidney or two involuntarily. I'm thinking you need mental health care. You meet saner women than I do. I remember having a discourse with a bitch on Skype when I was in college. I could feel she found me boring, like most of her responses boiled down to, yeah, cool, nice to hear. I don't remember how the discussion got swayed into talking about fucking Ted Bundy of all people, but she suddenly became more enthusiastic and we ended up talking about serial killers, Lamau. She was an incredible, kind, elegant woman who was skilled in martial arts and had a fearsome intellect. When I met her, she was finishing her second master's degree. She kept having problems with plagiarism software, because her professional writing on her field of work was the go-to source material and she kept accidentally using the same phrasing in her papers. Also turned out, she was a fantastic deviant in the bedroom, which was a plus. Unfortunately, she was stuck in a miserable marriage with a guy who treated her like a part of the furniture. Still, best 7 years of my life before he finally put pressure on her to stop the affair. I should have encouraged her to divorce and married her. Biggest regret of my life. Aim it sideways like a scholar for extra damage. I'm gonna grape him. It was good enough to stop Garfield. I am paying the extra 20 pence for ivory grips because I am a classy whore. In '88, this would have been a 30-year-old milsurp. Whip out my Colt Walker and unload in the general direction of Jack the Ripper. Smoke clears. Jack is dead in the streets. The horse 10 feet away has a fist-sized hole in its neck. A barrel full of whale oil has exploded like a wheat goon penis. A workhouse has a new window in its side. 5th shot misfires. Your wrist is broken in 3 places. London is safe. Step 1. Don't live in London. Step 2. Don't be a whore in a slum. Were guns a popular personal defense option in this period? I sort of got the sense a normal person would bring a large knife if they thought there'd be a serious fight. Am I just being affected by pop culture? They were certainly around. Your definition of popular might need to be more specific though. They were very popular. Women were, for the first time in history, exposed to men that weren't her father/husband without supervision. Lots of women armed up. Look at the anti-rape adverts the British Railways came out with during the period. A normal person would use his fists in a fight or carry a pistol and a big stick if he feared being assaulted for a big wad of cash. Criminals planning on doing in criminals like knives. Because the Met Police took a very dim view of crime affecting normal people, and if you went around blasting, you'd end up in prison or a river eel because of the local crime lord. Except the Jews, of course. They refused to testify against each other and enforced their own social standards. I just need plate armor and a smoothbore pistol. This is 1888, not 1688. You're going to get laughed at, then ventilated with a double-action 45. If Sherlock Holmes was real, what would he have used for self-defense? Would he be too much of a gentleman to use a weapon? Would a high-level crime figure like Moriarty be armed, or is that for his henchmen? He'd have just borrowed Dr. Watson's revolver as needed, like in the books. Although he did not often resort to using them, Holmes almost always carried a pistol and was known to be an excellent marksman. Note how he's able to shoot a VR into his flat's walls in Musgrave Ritual. Holmes' pistol of choice was the Webley RIC chambered in .442 Webley. Other handguns used by Holmes include the .450 short-barreled Webley Metropolitan Police revolver, the Sign of 4, and the Webley .450 British Bulldog. Moriarty had an airgun disguised as a cane made by a German smith. For a firearm, I feel they should have given him something French to represent the long-standing Brit-Franco enmity, and because he is referred to as the Napoleon of crime. Holmes was a man of many talents, including physical discourse. He practiced Bartitsu and was a proficient cane fighter. Another anon has pointed out his use of guns, and he was skilled with them. In a self-defense situation, he probably would have used what he felt was an equivalent force. Bare knuckles to bare knuckles, cane to cane, gun for gun, or other lethal weapon, I suspect. Robert Downey Jr.'s depiction of Holmes' fighting prowess isn't off base. Stay away from my Johnson. Not 1880s weapon, but I imagine something similar could have been manufactured. My body wouldn't be the only thing getting ripped tonight.